us to uphold the right of others. Do not allow us to be misled by ignorance or corrupted by fear or favor. Unite us to yourself in the bond of love and keep us faithful to all that is true. As we gather here this evening in your name, may we temper justice with love, so that all our decisions may be pleasing to you and earn the reward promised to good and faithful servant. We ask all this in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, and let the church say, Amen. And once again, as a pastor of the Claver Catholic Church, I welcome all of you here this evening, and it's so wonderful to see many of you here. I know that you care, that is why you are here. But after all this is over, I encourage you to spread the word, so that on that day, February 1st, everybody should be able to go out and vote. So once again, thank you and welcome to the Claver Catholic Church.
Thank you. So again, I encourage folks to move towards the front. And a few notes of housekeeping. The first, and perhaps most important, is where the restrooms are located. The restrooms are through this door and up the ramp and in the school. And so we ask that if you need to use the restroom, you go around and not come through the center aisle. Second is that we will have time for audience questions, but we do have a specific process for those questions. I think that everyone probably received a questionnaire card, and you can submit questions. There's a basket in the middle of the aisle. And in addition, Ms. Lynette will be circulating with the basket in order to pick up questions. We will do our best to synthesize similar questions and propose as many audience questions as we can in the remaining 15 minutes of the forum. I would note that we ask that you submit your questions by 7 o'clock so that the staff may have enough time to synthesize the questions. I would also note that everyone received a scorecard, and those scorecards are for your own use, so that you can evaluate the responses to candidates and then use them as you make your decisions about who you will support and what issues are important to you. And finally, though, an important point that I think makes clear the weight of this evening. Joining us tonight, of course, are many citizens, activists, and leaders, but also joining us are families of people who have lost their lives in the Orleans Parish prison. They're here because they're curious about how we ensure that the prison is the best place that it can possibly be going forward. And with that, we'll turn to the candidates. We will propose questions throughout the evening. In front of you is a timekeeper, and generally I'll announce how much time you have, and the scorekeeper will inform you when you have 30 seconds left and when you've reached your time. My job here is to make sure that we get as much as possible for you instead of for me, so with that we begin. We'll start with a 1-minute opening statement from each candidate, and we'll start in alphabetical order. So, Mr. Brown, we'll start with you. 1 minute.
Good evening.
So there's a microphone. We'll give you that. You got it?
Hello? It's not on.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Quentin Brown. I guess we all know why we're here today. We're here today because we're tired of seeing the bad things that's happening to New Orleans. We have people going to jail and they getting raped, they getting killed, and there's family members. And I know it hurts when you lose a family member. I got in this race because I have a dear friend, and he's in the audience today, and his name is Troy Delahousse. He came to me and he told me, you know what, man, this happened under the sheriff's watch. My nephew had went to Paris prison. He was under suicide watch. And I asked Marlin Gusman, I wouldn't even enter this race if Marlin Gusman would have given me a straight up answer. I seen him at a grocery store at Petco one morning, and I say, Marlin Gusman, I admired you for many years. I voted for you every time. And I say, Marlin Gusman, if someone's under suicide watch, how could they still commit suicide? He said it was under his watch.
Mr. Brown, thank you. Mr. Foti?
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. This is a very important race because you will go to determine the operations of the Criminal Sheriff's Office and the Orleans Parish Prison Facilities. I'm in this race. I've served you as Sheriff for 30 years. I was Attorney General for 4 years. I'm a practicing attorney and a restaurant owner. I'm running because of the conditions that existed at Parish Prison and the conditions that the federal government has outlined not only in letters from the Civil Rights Division, but in the consent judgment. I appreciate your attention and thank you very much.
Thank you. Sheriff Gusman?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity. You know, when I was elected sheriff, the Orleans Parish Prison Reform Coalition was in full effect. That's because there were a lot of problems under the previous sheriff's leadership. Katrina has really dealt all of us a tough blow. It's been a difficult journey for us to transform what was a prison industrial complex into a modern 21st century state-of-the-art facility. We're almost there. We're working hard at it. It has not been easy. And getting to this point, we've gone through some difficult times. I certainly, like everyone else, regret any loss of life. But we are affected just like the families are affected. We've been working hard. The jail is much smaller than it was when I took over. There were over 6,000 inmates back there. Now we have about 2,000. We're working to make it better. It's going to be a much better place. I would appreciate your support.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about this race. I'm in this race because our jail system is in crisis. It is described as the most dangerous jail in America, but it doesn't have to stay there. I've served this city for 34 years and was strong background in law enforcement, 28 in the police department, 4 of which I worked as a correctional officer, so I've been on the ground in Orleans Parish Prison. I'm currently the chief of police at Southern University, and I serve as a member of the Orleans Parish School Board. We can fix this problem. I've served this community by working hard and demonstrating a commitment to respect and ensure the constitutional rights of all citizens, even those who are incarcerated. This problem doesn't have to continue. We can get the job done. That's why I'm in this race, and I need your support. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we'll move into the first round of questions. And the first question is regarding the jail size. And it's a two-part question. So I'm asking in this first part of the question, simply answer yes or no. And then I'll give you guys an opportunity to explain. New Orleans and Louisiana have the highest incarceration rates in the country. Post-Katrina, the need to take a closer look at this issue and to determine the right size for our city's jail became a pressing issue. In 2010, the mayor approved a city-appointed working group and approved their recommendations regarding the appropriate size for the jail. The city adopted an ordinance capping the jail size at 1,438 beds. And this was only 18 months after the new jail facility was to be completed. Considering this cap of 1,438 beds, do you support the size of the cap? And the second question will be, if elected sheriff, will you comply with it? And we'll start with Mr. Foti this time.
I support a cap on jail, but I don't necessarily support the 1,400 because I feel that we don't have enough space to adequately classify the various types of prisons you have.
Thank you. Mr. Gusman?
Look, we're going to comply with the law, whatever the law is, and if the law is 1438, we will. The 1,438 bed cap, if you look at the ordinance itself, it does provide for any other changes that might be made. There might be a need for additional beds.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Yes, I do support the city ordinance that was passed in January of 2011, directing the sheriff to build the 1,438-bed facility. And that ordinance also directed the sheriff to provide provisions in that jail to address psychiatric and medical needs and juvenile needs. And this has been the failure of building this jail without those components.
Mr. Brown?
I really think that it need to be community involvement and see what's going on, because the city council is not in the jail, the community knows what's going on, all these murders going on down here.
Do you support the cap?
I support anything that comes before the council, and it's the best thing for the people in the jail cell, but if you need more people, you need more jail. The way the crime going.
All right. So, this is for every candidate. Please explain why you support or oppose the cap, and what's your plan to ensure that the cap is enforced, or what other course will you pursue? We'll start with you, Sheriff Gusman.
Well, the sheriff in Orleans Parish does not do much arresting. What we've done when I've been sheriff is that we have a very strong day reporting center, which helps people stay out of jail and not go back in. We also started operating the electronic monitoring program, which is another alternative to incarceration. A reentry program, another way to keep people from repeating their offense, their crimes, and also the transitional work program, which helps people get a job and stay out of jail.
Thank you. And time, this is a 2-minute question. Mr. Thomas?
Well, one, we got to make sure that those who are supposed to be in jail stay in jail, and those that shouldn't be in jail are released from jail. And that's part of the problem. That's what's wrong with the system. Those that are in jail that have been sentenced, the sheriff has to create rehabilitation and reentry programs that actually work, and not just put inmates through a program and then release them back into the community with no sense of direction as to what they're going to do. This is why we have this repeat offender and this problem with recidivism. So we've got to create programs that translates into jobs and housing. This is what prisoners, ex-inmates are telling us and tell us all the time. The two concerns that they have is housing and jobs.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Man, what I'm hearing up here is really ridiculous, because what I heard, I thought the sheriff supposed to go out there and help the police officer. Man, do you realize crime is getting bad in this city? We gonna need superheroes to come out here and start helping us do this crime. Where all this crime is going on, we don't have enough police officers on the street. So why can't the sheriff put more officers and more of his deputies to help the police officers out? If I'm elected sheriff, that's what I would do. And I would go to Mitch Land, whoever's the mayor of the city council and the mayor, I would tell them, look, I'm offering my services for my deputies to go out there and get out there and start helping to get the crime off the street. These people are scared to walk the streets of New Orleans. Man, you can't even walk up to somebody and ask them, I'm running for city council or running for office or something like that, without them getting scared. A dog bit me last week because I walked up to her at 8 o'clock at night trying to introduce myself to her. And that's terrible. I'm just tired of it. I'm a citizen, I'm tired of crime, and I'll do anything that the public and the city council and the mayor, and I'll try to work, they can either do it their way or do it my way. And believe me, you're not going to like it my way.
Thank you. Mr. Foti?
I think it's a two-part problem. I think that first, that we have to support initiatives like the Bureau Institute that take people that do not belong in jail out of jail and put them back on the street under some type of supervision. Second, those people that are staying in jail, we're dealing with young men who have limited education, have drug problems, have mental health problems, have physical problems because of lifestyle. We have to address those problems and have a continuity of care so that when we start a process on drug treatment, that when they go back out to the community as part of their treatment, they'd be referred to a proper social service agency to do that. Doing that, we can bring down the crime rate. Education is important, drug therapy in the jail is important, and making every effort to have job counselors to find jobs for the young men and women who are in jail, and have job counselors for them after they get out of jail when they through with the work release program.
Thank you. Mr. Gusman, this is a follow-up question for you. You were a member of the working group that recommended the 1,438 bed cap. And according to pleadings that have been filed in federal court, it was discovered in June 2013 that the new jail facility designed and constructed under your watch was not being built in compliance with the city ordinance. And since then, it has been retrofitted at additional taxpayer expense and causing additional delay. Is this true? And if so, please explain. 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Okay, first of all, not true. Not true. The jail has not been delayed. It's on schedule. There has not been any retrofits that have caused any of these delays. We did make changes. We continue to make changes in what we're doing. But those pleadings, whatever was filed there, were the result of one party making a statement, wasn't found to be true. As a matter of fact, my architect, who's designed jails all across the country, has put in writing that this facility is capable of meeting all of the conditions of the conditional use permit, which incidentally I applied for before we built the facility. And that's when, we really brought this whole issue of the jail size to the forefront. I applied for it. Wasn't the case when other jails were built. But we applied for this one. But no, that's not correct, not accurate.
Thank you. And Mr. Foti, this question is for you. Under your leadership as sheriff for almost 30 years, the jail size grew to more than 6,000 prisoners. And that made the New Orleans jail the 8th largest jail in the nation, despite the fact that New Orleans wasn't even close to being one of the largest cities in the country. If elected sheriff, how can voters be assured that you will not try to substantially expand the number of prisoners held at the jail? Well, 1 minute, 30 seconds.
First of all, I didn't try to expand. The federal court closed Angola, which was the only penitentiary, and for 2 years they backed up prisoners and you couldn't ship anybody. And it took them a length of time to build new prisons to go forward. I will live with whatever the jail cap is. I just think that, as I said, that
Speak to the mic.
I said I will live with whatever the jail cap is, and I think that we need to do the programs to take care of the young boys and girls that are in prison right now that need help so they don't go out and one of you become a victim. I mean, if we don't help them, then they're coming back in the community, and somebody in this room will be a victim of that. And so that's why I'm running to change the system so that we can rehabilitate these people to lead useful lives.
Thank you, and that does get to the heart of some of what's in the next question. But we'll pose this to all candidates. Reducing over-incarceration at the jail requires cooperation with a number of stakeholders, including the police department, the district attorney's office, the judiciary, and pretrial services. What would you specifically do in your role as sheriff to assist in reducing over-incarceration at the jail? And we'll start with you, Mr. Brown.
I'm friends with everybody, man. If you ask the district attorney, you ask the mayor, you ask all the city councilmen, they all know me. They say, who is Quentin Brown? He's a great guy. Nobody have nothing bad to say about him. I can work with all of them. All these guys that's up here, they have issues with, I know with at least one person at the city council or the mayor itself. You need a sheriff that's going to be there, and there's a guy that's going to work with everybody and not leave the public out. That's what's going on right now. The public is being left out of everything. We the voters, when the people, the politicians, they in office already. We got them in, we need to get some of them butts out of office. All these people that's sitting out here, these are the people that care. That's why they're here tonight. They want a safer and better community, and that's what needs to be done. And these guys had their shot. Now I'm in the race to change it. I want my shot. I want the opportunity to show the people that, look, when I'm in, you're not going to like me, you're going to love me.
Thank you. Mr. Foti.
I think one of the things you have to do is build partnerships, and the partnerships with not only with the criminal justice system, but with the social agencies outside and with the public. to know, so that everyone is working on the same page to safety for the city, reduce crime, rehabilitate people that have broken the law, and have meaningful rehab programs to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Gusman.
So the pretrial services program is located inside of our intake and processing center. I brought them in, they're a part of it. We work with them, we provide them with documents that assist them in making decisions on how to release people, who to keep in, who should be given a property, ROR or recommended to the judge. And then we work with the judges. We operate a call system where the judges can call in and get information from us on whether or not someone should be released. We also have a fast track program that I instituted where we work with the judges. The judges gave us an en banc order that allows us to bypass the first appearance. Someone's arrested on a nonviolent charge, a charge that, and they're not a career criminal. We can release that person after we do the regular check, criminal check, and then they don't have to wait and stay in jail for first appearance. We work with the district attorney on a regular basis, constantly trying to see if there are cases that need to go forward that haven't been going forward. We work with the judges as well with the electronic monitoring program, trying to get people that really could be out of jail and recommend to them that they put them on the electronic monitoring program. So we have a broad range of cooperation that we do currently with the stakeholders. And that's why the jail population has gone down so dramatically.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas.
Well, the police arrest, the DA prosecute, the judges run trials. As I mentioned earlier, we need rehabilitation and reentry programs that actually work so that inmates are released and go back into the community and have at least a fair chance of becoming productive citizens. And right now, that's not happening. Also, we have to keep in mind that the concerns and issues that are prevalent back there in the jail are constitutional concerns, violation of the 8th and 14th Amendments. This is why the federal court has gotten involved, because of 42 plus questionable deaths that have occurred in that jail. There are many that are still under investigation, that the police department should have been a partner with the sheriff to come in and help to investigate these kinds of incidents. So there's no partnership between the sheriff and the other stakeholders in the criminal justice system. Bringing psychiatric stakeholders to the table, things of that nature that will help properly evaluate inmates that are in jail. I've talked to people all through this campaign where they can be arrested for a traffic charge and then never lost in that jail, and some have died as a result of going to jail on a minor traffic charge. And so we've got to properly classify inmates, we've got to evaluate them when they come in, and we've got to make sure that they're protected inside of the jail system. Right now, experts have testified that this jail is unsafe even for those who work there, and especially those who are kept there as incarcerated inmates. So there's a whole plethora of issues that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. So we will move on to the next topic, which is the funding of the jail, particularly the per diem system. The jail is currently largely funded through a per diem system in which the sheriff's office receives funding for each bed filled each day that the bed is filled. Various community groups have voiced concern that our jail is currently being run like a hotel and creates a perverse incentive to lock more people up and to lock them up longer. What are your views on the current funding system and what changes do you propose, if any, to the current system? And we'll start with you, Mr. Foti. This is a 2-minute question.
We are currently under a per diem system because some years back, the city refused to fund the jail. We had to take them to federal court, and they decided they wanted to pay by per diem. That they thought that was the best way for them to do it. I think that the best way to do it is a fixed budget, honestly given by the city of New Orleans. At the present time, they only funded $22 million for this year. That's not going to take them through 2014 fiscal year. I think that what you have to do is have a quarterly report to the council about what is happening, what are the needs of the jail, and how are they going to fund it. To make sure that they understood, we will put our financial records on the internet every 4 months and do a performance audit of every program in the jail. So not only the city council can see it, not only the general public can see it, but the media can see what was going on in the operations of the jail. The jail needs to not only talk about the number of inmates that they have, but needs to talk about the programs necessary to rehabilitate and treat the men and women that come in. When you talk about what the population is, it's about 90% male. Most of them are functionally illiterate. They have no job skills, no work history, have physical and mental problems because of their lifestyle, and they have a substance abuse problem. If they're in jail, you have to start working on that and then pass them off into the community so that their parents and loved ones can help them overcome this and become useful citizens.
Mr. Gusman?
The per diem system may have been something good when you had over 6,000 inmates locked up in the jail. Now we have about 2,000. I'm pleased to say that we've been working with the city administration. This year we will be going forward with a fixed funding system, and we won't be looking at sending a bill based upon the number of inmates. That's changing. That's going to be a step towards progress. It is important that the jail be fully funded and funded properly. The biggest issue right now is about staffing. And the more that you have a reliable, predictable funding, the better you can staff, the better you can hire. You know, when I was elected, deputies were being paid $6.58 an hour, right above minimum wage. Horrible. And right after Katrina, I raised the pay to $9.69 an hour. Just recently, we raised it again to $12.10 an hour, and it's still not high enough to make sure that you can retain and attract the best quality deputies that you can. Most of our deputies, after we train them, end up going to neighboring sheriff's offices, neighboring law enforcement agencies. So I'm excited about moving forward with the city and very hopeful that we're going to be able to get a funding mechanism that is going to work and going to help us be better as we move forward.
And Mr. Gusman, just a quick follow-up. My job is to help people to compare apples to apples. Mr. Foti committed to a fixed budget process, as did you. But Mr. Foti also mentioned doing quarterly reporting and also agreed to submit to an audit process for the city council. I'm curious as to whether or not you agreed to the same.
Oh, I can get to any reporting, any auditing. As sheriff, I've given complete financial information from the very beginning. I used to be on the city's budget committee, used to be the city's chief administrative officer. So I have done that. Continue to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
You know, when Mr. Gusman was on the council, he did criticize Mr. Foti for not being transparent in terms of disclosing his budget. And since he's been sheriff, he's done exactly the same thing. And that's part of the problem in the fight between the city administration, the city council, and the sheriff. The sheriff proposes one budget, the city proposes another budget, and the city council somewhere in between because there's no transparency in this office. I support a fixed budget. It's never been a good idea to have a per diem system because it only serves as an incentive to keep people in jail. And so in that, the sheriff has maintained that per diem system for the entire time he's been sheriff, but now he supports a fixed budget. And so we need to bring a level of transparency and post the budget on the website. That's what we do at the Orleans Parish School Board. We identify all the funding, the revenue sources, how money is being spent. Taxpayers, you have a right to know how your tax dollars are being spent. But there's been such a high level of mismanagement, corruption, fraud, ongoing federal investigation surrounding this budget and the way it's been managed. It's your tax dollars, and you deserve to know how it's being spent. You deserve to have elected officials who understand that they are accountable to you, the taxpayers, to the citizens of the city, and maintain a safe, secure, humane, and constitutionally managed local jail system.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
I guess y'all have fun with that question. Y'all got it from me when I say it. That's what I wanted to do when I'm first elected. When I'm first elected on February 1st, February 2nd, I want to open a budget. I want to open a budget, and I said this before, and I guess Chef Foti didn't say nothing about this last night when we did this. I wanted to do a quarterly thing every 4 months and give a strict budget to the council, strict budget to the governor, strict budget to the people, strict budget to the mayor, and let them know what's going on. I don't have nothing to hide. I don't have nothing to hide now. I'm a gardener. I want to donate 25% of my salary when I get in office to Crime Stopper for 1 year to try to fight the crime. I want to donate 25% more of my salary to the deputies that do good work, and I evaluate them and let them know and see who's doing the work and who's not doing the work. After that video that was on TV, believe me, no more raises would have been gave out. Somebody would have got their butts fired. That's what should have been happening right there. No more raises should have been done. How can somebody get raises for drugs, for guns, for shooting, and all that? Not shoot, but drugs and weed smoking inside the jail. They pulling money all out. I ain't got all in there. When you gonna give people raises for this? I'm not gonna give raises for that. I'm saying pink slips out. I don't have nothing to hide. I'm Quentin Brown right now. Anybody want something to ask me right now? I don't have nothing to hide. My books are open right now. What books I have for you?
Thank you. So, this next question really focuses on concerns that some members of the Orleans Parish Christian Coalition Reform Group had, frankly, about documentation and accountability under leadership both of Sheriff Foti and of Sheriff Gusman. And it pushes on this issue that perhaps there wasn't appropriate documentation and transparency and accountability. They raise concerns that these have been serious concerns and that money flowing hasn't been properly accounted for. And so the question becomes, as Sheriff, how will you work to make sure that the City Council, or work with the City Council to establish a documented, transparent, and workable and accountable budget system? And we'll start with you, Sheriff Gusman.
Under the previous sheriff, there was an air of mystery. The budget would come in one letter, one page. I changed that. I presented a detailed budget by cost center, and the record reflects that. The record is clear on that. I said in my letter of transmittal with all the revenue sources, all of the expenditures. I said, any additional information you need, I'll be happy to provide. And we have been providing it. That's the record. We've done it. We're going to continue to do it. There is no hiding what money we take in. There's no hiding what money we spend. We're audited every year by an external auditor that's third party. That audit is reviewed every year by the Louisiana legislative auditor. All of those documents are public. All of those documents are available. Everything that I've submitted to the City Council since I've been sheriff is available. So I'm not making any of this up. All of this is there, the record to be seen. Basically what's happened is that this holdover of what happened in the past for 30 years is really why now they think perhaps I'm holding something back, but I'm not. The record is clear. Check the record and you'll see that I provided all information.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas.
You know, what I would do, number one, elected sheriff, is to do a complete audit of the sheriff's office, its assets and its liabilities, ask the state auditors to come. And I would make that public so that citizens can know. Secondly, the sheriff has to partner with the city administration and the city council with regard to his budget. Why has the sheriff been so transparent as he is saying? Why has there been such confusion and arguments and discourse between him and the city administration and the city council about his budget? So the issue is disclosure. The issue is transparency. And the third issue is prioritizing your budget. He talks about paying deputies $12 an hour. That's a decent salary to work in that type of environment. When he mismanaged money, paying hefty contract to a law firm with no accountability, no explanation of how those dollars are being spent. We've got to redirect those resources. I would trim the fat from the budget, redirect those resources to the core functions of the jail: care, custody, and control of inmates. Until we control the violence, until we have a handle on the security of that jail and ensure that those deaths that have occurred and continue to occur cease to exist. And so it's a matter of prioritizing what's needed in the jail. This consent decree is a federally mandated order simply telling the sheriff to do what he should have been doing all along. And so we don't need the federal government to constantly tell us one consent decree after another, here's what you must do. This is your job, sheriff. And so we have to have someone in office who understands that and will take that responsibility and do it.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Well, like I said, when I'm first elected, I'll hire administration to come in and top firm lawyer and come in and see somebody's hiding something. Some money's being missed, some kind of way, some kind of, I don't know what's going on, mismanagement or something. So that's what I will do. I'll hire a law firm to come in and they'll look over the books and they'll make it public to the council, they'll make it public to the mayor, and let them know what needs to be done. And it's something's not right. And Mr. Thomas, I'm not getting at you or not, no, but I went to many schools many times, and they don't even have toilet paper in there, so they must have bitch man, lucky there too. I can't find toilet paper in some of the bad ones. So what's going on with that budget? So schools not being rebuilt, the schools unpaid, black names just came on TV. I guess because you're running for sheriff now, that's when we started to build black names back together. So I'm not saying, I'm not trying to go bad on you, man. I'm just a concerned citizen. I'm just tired of seeing all this thing the city being neglected. And I want to put forward and let everybody, let the cards be on the table and say, look, this is Quentin Brown, I'm the sheriff, what's going on? If you stole something, let's go to jail. If you've been stealing something, let's go back to jail. And why these people are dying inside this prison? We got a lady sitting right here, a kinfolk about to die. If I'm sheriff, it won't be no more signs like that. They'll have a sign up there saying, we want Quentin back in office. That's what we'll say.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Foti?
It's all hard to follow. So everybody understands that the sheriff, when I was sheriff also, you have to file a legislative order that has to do an order each year. The sheriff also has to go before the city council for a budget. They have to do their budget by December 1st. By December 31st of the year, the sheriff has to have a budget hearing, which is publicized in the paper, about how he intends to spend the money and the items he's going to spend it on during the year. I think there should be open and transparency. I've been under both systems, both the budget system and per diem system. If you're fully funded, the fixed system, the budget system is the right way. But if the city refuses to fund you, then you have no other choice but to go to court to enforce the rights of the citizens to have a safe and secure jail. When you look at the budget, it should be transparent. But the city overall has always failed to fund it. The sheriff is always a stepchild. The police department gets the money, most of the money, and then the rest of the criminal justice agencies have to fight over getting a budget for the rest of the year. I would give you my promise that if I'm elected, I will get a proper budget to treat those people that are coming to jail so we can stop crime, and it would be a safe and constitutional jail, and we wouldn't have all these problems that we have now.
Thank you. So we've made it about halfway through our questions, and I wanted to pause for a moment and remind the audience that you have an opportunity to submit questions. And I think that you should have picked up a question card when you came in. And there's a basket in the middle of the aisle here. In addition, Ms. Lynetta is circulating with the basket and picking up questions. Make sure you submit them. We're trying to make sure that we get all questions in before 7 o'clock so that we can synthesize any similar questions and get in as many questions as we possibly can. So with that, we'll move to questions about the consent decree. The Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office is currently involved in litigation that has led to a federal consent decree. A court order in which the Sheriff's Office must adopt numerous changes to fix violations of constitutional rights of the people held at the jail. In his order, federal judge Lance Afford cited a number of constitutional violations at the jail, including inadequate mental health care services, inadequate staffing, and what he called a staggering level of violence. He further stated that the jail is an indelible stain on the community. So this question is for all 4 candidates. Do you agree with Judge Afford's findings that the conditions in the jail are unconstitutional? And please explain your views and also give us an explanation of what caused the current conditions in the jail. And we'll start with you, Mr. Thomas.
I mean, it's indisputable. Judge Afford heard all the testimony, saw all of the evidence. You've seen the video. How can you dispute the expert testimony? Mr. Romero, Mr. Schwartz, who testified that this jail is unsafe even for staff to work in. Mr. Schwartz characterized it as the worst jail he's ever seen, and perhaps the most dangerous in the United States. When you look at the fact, as I mentioned earlier, there were 42 questionable deaths that have occurred in that jail under Sheriff Gusman since 2006. The evidence is overwhelming that this jail, according to the experts and according to what the judge concluded, is totally dysfunctional. So we've got to go in and we've got to train personnel, we've got to reevaluate personnel, determine what the training needs are. It's a bad thing when inmates know more about the jail facility than the deputies who work there. I'm a certified police education instructor. The sheriff has a training academy that is dysfunctional. We've got to put training in place. I will seek out a certified, experienced jail and administrator who's experienced in corrections to manage the jail. Training has to be the top priority. Deputies have to be professional, they have to be accountable, they have to be trained in understanding what the constitutional rights of the incarcerated are. And then, after you clean it up, you have to put accountability in place from the top down. You train from the bottom up, and you hold people accountable from the top down.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If a judge says it's bad, it must be bad because it's not even taking the judge to say it's bad. The people, the voters are saying it's bad. We've seen it all on TV and everything. What I think is happening going on is that I think when someone is elected to the sheriff's office or any kind of office, I really think it's going to the top notch of all offices. When they get out there, they meet the people, they go to churches, they go in the community, they go to school. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But when they once get in office, they forget about everything what they say they was going to do because they're elected and they don't need your vote no more. Only time you're going to see them again is when it's time to vote again. And that needs to stop. If the judge is saying it's bad and everything, and the citizens saying it's bad, and they got inmates that make videos, and then you say, people, it's time, something needs to be changed. Somebody needs to be accountable. Somebody needs to be fired. That's what, I ain't hear nothing about nobody being fired yet since all them videos came on. When all them videos came on TV about the man with the gun and the guys throwing dice and weed, man, I was so embarrassed. I I mean, all I got to say right now, whoever listening right now, if this situation is still going on when February 1st comes, and I'm not saying, man, Sheriff Gusman, I don't have nothing against you. But if you win again, I promise you, I'm moving out of Orleans, Louisiana. I can't go through this again.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Foti?
The conditions in the jail were first noted in 2008. The National Institute of Corrections came down and did an inspection. The Department of Justice wrote the sheriff in 2009 and told him he was having an unconstitutional jail and said what the problems were, what they claimed were the problem. In 2012, they wrote him another letter saying the conditions were the same or worse. So to me, that indicates a lack of leadership in addressing a problem. Everybody can have problems. What happens when you have a problem, you have to adequately address the problem. The deputies need better training. They have great men and women that work there. But what they need to have is not only the post training, but take advantage of the American Correctional Association training that you can do online that goes to professionalism, which you can use to say, when you finish these jobs, these courses, you can be job placement, pay raises, and promotions. You have to have intercommunicational skills to deal with the inmates, because they're in there without a gun, without mace. They have to be able to, how do you talk with people? One of the biggest problems you have is how do you talk with people? Do you talk down to them? Do you curse them? Do you kill them out of their name? Or do you try to make things, understand what the problems are? They have a grievance system that was approved by the federal court. The court said the grievance system was non-existent, was not being used. Classification is a basic need in a jail. When a young person comes in that has not a serious crime, does not need to be put in a sexual predator. It is too much to ask for us to keep the same conditions going on where inmates are brutalized, where there's gang rapes and there's sexual attacks and there's limited investigation, and always investigations are started and they are never completed.
Thank you, Mr. Foti. I do want to offer a follow-up question to Mr. Foti.
Yes, sir.
I think that everyone agrees that there have been very concerning allegations at the jail under Sheriff Gusman's term, and that, of course, that leads us to the issue of the consent decree. But of course, under your 30-year tenure at the jail is also subject to a consent decree and to also to many complaints of concerns, some of which are pretty similar to the concerns that are raised as allegations against Mr. Gusman. And so I'd offer you 1 minute to address those concerns and explain how they're different from the issues that Mr. Gusman faces.
There was a consent decree that started under Victor Skiro, and it was in place when I took office, and we worked through that consent decree over a number of years with improper funding. We never had excessive violence, and we never had escapes. Just yesterday, an inmate came forward, Judge Brewer's court, where they tested him. He'd been in jail for 11 months, and he tested positive for opiates. And we had another consent decree, which Judge Palazzola was a special master for all of the jails and prisons in the state of Louisiana, who was appointed by the Fifth Circuit. In each one of those cases, we passed flying colors.
Thank you. Mr. Gusman.
Oh, thank you. The fact is that there were numerous consent decrees under the previous sheriff. Consent decrees for medical, consent decrees for classification, consent decrees for sanitary conditions. There were numerous. You know, Katrina was really tough. And Katrina destroyed every single facility that we had, every single last one. For the last 8 years, we've been in tents, we've been in substandard facilities, we've been in a facility that was built in the 1920s, so it has not been easy. It's been pretty difficult. The video, horrible, but not indicative of what happens at the jail. Contraband, a problem in every single jail, every prison, every facility, even a problem in schools. It's a problem. People talk about questionable deaths. We have reported every single death. There have not been 42 questionable deaths. We regret every one. We regret every one. But
Thank you. So this is a follow-up question for Mr. Brown and Mr. Thomas. So one thing that I think is pretty clear here is that over decades now, the jail has had to function under consent decrees. And the issue becomes, what lets people know that your leadership is going to be so different from the folks that the city has chosen in the past, such that there won't be a consent decree? I mean, are these in fact systemic problems that are just very difficult to overcome, even when we have very capable leadership, or is it that the leadership is somehow different?
Well, number one, the people who vote me in office to do the job, and I have a conscience. I'm a God-fearing man, and I believe I have to answer to God. If I can't answer to the people, the voters, I'll have to answer to him. And then if I can't do my job within 2 years, then I'm elected, I'll resign. Because it's time to get this problem fixed. We had a guy that had 30 years to do it, and it couldn't get done. We had another guy that had 8 years to get it done. It couldn't get done. Now we got this guy here that wants to try to do it. I'm only 44 years old. I'm young. I have a ton of people that's willing to come and help me fix this problem and make this problem work, and make the people in the audience stop holding signs up of their relatives that died in prison and start holding signs and say, we have peace. We have peace in jail now under Mr. Brown's administration. And then I'm not saying nothing bad about none of these guys. All I'm about to say is time is up, and it's time for a change. And if you want to change, I'm the man.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, I'm sorry, Mr. Thomas.
Yes, Mr. Gusman talks about there were numerous consent decrees in place when we became sheriff. Well, you would think that would have been enough, but we went out and got his own. And so there's yet another consent decree that he can take credit for. This, what's going to be different, and what has to be different, about the sheriff's office, is what we did in the NOPD. In 1995, we saw a very dysfunctional police department. We had one that officers were acting as criminals and doing everything unlawful, even committing murder. The mayor brought in a leader to come in to bring reforms to the police department. And when you have a competent, experienced leader in law enforcement to come in and put a plan in place, and put people in place, and initiate that plan to reform, that's what we have to do in Orleans Parish Prison. There hasn't been an emphasis and a concern and a priority to reform the conditions. The consent decrees are there, Mr. Gusman says he acknowledges there were many. Well, what have you done? Why haven't you prioritized properly to meet the requirements of the consent decrees? He signed a document back in 2004 by the Prison Reform Coalition saying that he would do that, and he did.
Thank you. So we move into this next area of questions, and it's regarding the treatment of people held in the jail. And before we begin asking these questions, I remind both the candidates and members of the audience that we do have families of people who died in the jail here tonight. And I think it makes clear the weight of these questions, and certainly focuses us in on this concern. In 2012, the Orleans Parish Prison had over 600 transports to local emergency rooms for physical injuries, of which far more than half were related to violence. A similar-sized jail in Memphis, during that same period, had only 70 emergency room transports related to violence during a comparable time. In June of 2013, the federal judge found that the Orleans Parish Prison's alarming levels of violence are directly attributable to numerous policies and practices that are greatly deficient, including policies and practices associated with staffing and supervision, contraband classification, sexual assault, and training and accountability. According to information we've received, there's been no significant decrease in violence in the jail in recent months, And even today, there are as many as 20 to 25 incidents per month where Orleans Parish prisoners are routed to local emergency rooms for treatment for physical injuries, many of which are related to violence. For Sheriff Gusman, the question is, what are you doing right now to ensure that the jail is adequately staffed and that there's a significant reduction in violence? And for the other candidates, it's the same question, but of course, with regards to what you would do should you become sheriff. And we'll start with Mr. Thomas.
It goes back to my previous answer about prioritizing and understanding, the sheriff understanding what is the core responsibility of the sheriff: care, custody, and control of the jail. You know, you can't have care, custody, and control, take care of your core responsibilities if you got deputies all over the city doing all kinds of other things in and around the city. So the jail is been neglected, plain and simple. Deputies are not being trained. Training is not ongoing, and the lack of supervision and the lack of accountability. Certainly, staffing is an issue. We have to bring all those people into the jail, all the deputies into the jail, and properly classify people. Listen, I worked for 4 years as a correctional officer when the NOPD had the local jail system. We didn't have these kinds of incidents going on today. As Foti mentioned, we had an inmate who's been in jail for 11 months showing up in court loaded. How does that happen? So there's a lack of training, there's a lack of supervision, there's a lack of control in this jail, and it's still happening today.
Mr. Brown?
All I just remember the years from past when I used to see these ads and everything, and under previous administrations, I heard something like they had like 80,000 people with strip search and illegal strip search. That should be like that. People should be treated fairly. We are human beings. We are not animals. We're not animals in the streets, and we're not animals inside the prisons. And that's what I want to change. I want to treat everyone like human beings because I have respect for everyone. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a taxpayer. I've been paying taxes all my life. I've been voting all my life, but I just been voting for the wrong person. That's why I've been voting for. That's why I ran for mayor, I ran for governor, and I ran for city councilman twice, and now I'm running for sheriff because I didn't know who to vote for, so I'm voting for my damn self. I'm voting for myself. That's all I got to say, man. It's just it starts at the top. That's where it starts at, right there. The sheriff just have to get some laid back job. You have to take responsibility. And if anything comes under my watch like that, I will resign. I'm serious. I will leave. If something like that would have happened to me, that people came into my prisons with contrabands and all that kind of stuff, I would have walked off right and leave. I ain't had to get no kind of judgment come get me, or no citizen would have came and got me. Nobody was throwing no eggs at my house to try to kill me. I'm resigning.
Thank you. Mr. Foti.
One of the basic problems that causes the violence is improper classification. It's improper classification, it's poor staffing, and it's lack of supervision and lack of training. To accomplish that, to keep a prison quiet, you have to have programs. You have to have something for them to do. That's why you have the GED program, you have literacy program, you have job skill training. You make available athletic department that they go out and exercise. So you try to keep them busy during the day, just as if you had children. You have to keep them busy, because if they're not busy, then problems happen. You have to go through every day and talk to inmates and find out what the problems are. Talk to the deputies to find out what the problem is. You have to use the grievance system to see what is happening in the jail and what problems need to be addressed and corrected, and prioritize those that are most important. You have to move people that are violent into separate living facilities so they're not associated and have better security on those particular tiers. This is the type of thing that you do to bring the level of violence in a prison down. Then You would have your religious program, your chaplain's program, to continually be on the tiers, talking with the men, giving counsel. You have classes in anger management to deal with those problems and deal with their mental and physical health problems. Once you do all of that, you're always going to have some problems in the institution. You have problems in homes, you have problems in families, you have problems in schools. But you can reduce the problem. What the court says, excessive violence, excessive sexual attacks, lack of control on contraband. We can correct that.
Thank you, Mr. Dustin.
Thank you. The jail system is much better staffed. It's a lot different though. It's a lot smaller. We have less facilities. We don't have 7,500 beds. We have about 2,600 beds. It makes it more difficult. The level of violence in this community is going on. Now we have gangs, ride or die, 3NGs, the 110er, the Fisher Fools. And another thing that's really important is that we take every precaution. We will route someone to the hospital as a precaution. So we really can't judge what we do in terms of routing someone to the hospital as an indication of the level of violence that we have. There's been one death due to violence at the jail since I've been there, one. And, but it's difficult. No amount of violence is acceptable. We have a zero tolerance on it. We prosecute, we arrest and charge every single person that does any act of violence. That's any act of violence. We have a zero tolerance on it. But it's tough. It's not easy. We get the worst people in the world that come in there, and the level of violence, we've been working on it. We're going to keep it down. One of the big things that's going to make a big difference is our new facility. These facilities are built for 18th and 19th century corrections. We're going into the 21st century. We're in the 21st century. And these facilities are much better. The deputy is inside of the module. The deputy is not at the end of a hallway looking down into a tier. So it's going to be a lot different. We're going to be a lot better.
Thank you. So these next questions are rapid fire questions, and we'll ask that you answer yes or no. And you have 10 seconds to respond. The first question, we'll start with Mr. Brown on this next question. First question is, were you committed to not housing Department of Corrections prisoners at the Orleans Parish Jail, other than those who are being held temporarily for trial and for pretrial purposes? Yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Foti? Were you committed to refrain from housing Department of Corrections prisoners at the Orleans Parish Jail, but for the minor circumstances of them being held temporarily for trial or for pretrial purposes?
Except for the prisoners that you need to run the prison, to do the janitorial and going through the re-entry program. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dustin?
Yes, I will. I'm committed to, it's a fact because we have a much smaller jail population.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. There is a general lack of publicly available information about what's happening inside the jail. And there's widespread community mistrust about the operations of the Sheriff's Office. Will you commit to regular public meetings to engage the community in ongoing discussions about operations at the jail and within the Sheriff's Office? And will you hold the first such meeting within 100 days of your term as Sheriff? Yes or no? And we'll start with Mr. Foti.
Yes.
Mr. Dustin?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes, the public should know everything about what's going on.
Thank you. All right. So now we move to one of the more interesting segments of tonight's forum. We're going to allow candidates to ask questions of one another. And so we'll start, I believe, with, I think, who went last? Who started last? I lost track here. Mr. Brown, you started last. All right. So we'll start with Mr. Foti here. You have an opportunity to ask a question to any other candidate, and then that candidate will have an opportunity to respond. You have 1 minute to respond to the question. So, Mr. Foti, who would you like to pose the question to, and what's your question?
Mr. Brown, why are you running for church?
Well, I'm running for sheriff, not since you picked on me, well, I'm going to lay it out to you now, because you was the sheriff for 30 years, and Poe was a hero of Katrina, and you tried to put this poor lady in jail, and then the people wanted to say, but it was actually why you strip searched 80,000 people, and the Attorney General at the time had asked you why you stopped doing it, and you refused to not listen to him. So if you don't want to listen to the Attorney General, who the hell are you going to listen to?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Gusman, who would you like to pose a question to, and what's your question?
I'll pose a question to Mr. Foti. Mr. Foti, can you give us the number of people who died when you were sheriff over the 30 years?
I looked at some of the records that TP had, and we had a much less mortality rate than you had. You were up there on 227 per 100,000 at the present time.
Mr. Thomas, who would you like to pose a question to? All right, I'll allow you to repeat your response. I'm sorry. Could you hold the microphone close to your mouth and repeat your response?
I told you he was getting too old for this. He's a good man now, but he's out his league right now.
Very definitely
I'm sorry, we need you to speak directly into the microphone.
I said that the rate of deaths we had under my regime was much less than happened under Mr. Gusman. That at the present time, the 2010 TP article said that his rate of death per 100,000 was the 8th highest in the country.
And I just want to be clear, he asked if you know what the number was under your leadership. Do you know that number?
I don't know the numbers.
It was 80,000 people script search illegal.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas, who would you like to pose a question to, and what is your question?
I'd like to pose a question to Mr. Gusman. And Mr. Gusman, back in 2004, when you first ran for sheriff, the Orleans Parish Prison Reform Coalition has always to fill out this questionnaire. And one question had to do with the consent decrees that you talked about that were in place at the time you became sheriff, and you wrote that I will fully comply with all consent decrees. Why hasn't that happened, and that we have yet another consent decree on top of that consent decree?
I said I'm going to fully comply. I did. I'm going to fully comply with this one too.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, who would you like to ask a question to, and what is your question?
Well, all I got to say is that if Marlin Gusman, if you're not in the runoff, and me and Ira Thomas in the runoff, who would you vote for? If I offer him the job, I offer him all the job if I'm elected.
That's a tough question. I think I'm going to have to think on it. I'm talking to Mr. Brown. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to try to find out more about you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know you wish you wouldn't see me in Catco that morning.
Thank you very much. All right.
Because I want to think
So
about
we have a few additional questions before we move into the audience questions. There are a number of populations of vulnerable people at Orleans Parish Prison, including young people, old people, and members of the LGBTQ community. These populations are especially vulnerable to violence, and particularly to sexual violence. It is our understanding that at least 30 sexual assaults have been reported at OPP over the last 2 years. Judge Acker found that a lack of staff supervision and a lack of effective inmate classification results in OPP's most vulnerable inmates, including the mentally ill, and the elderly falling prey to OPP's most dangerous inmates. There are best practices used in jails throughout the country to protect these vulnerable populations, but they are currently not in place at OPP. How will you implement and enforce best practices at the jail, particularly concerning protecting very vulnerable populations? And we'll start with you, Mr. Gusman.
You know, that's not true. You know, there were 30 assaults reported. We investigated every single one, whether it's substantiated or unsubstantiated, and we've done that. You know, we have to report that. That's part of our reporting mechanism. That does not mean that they happen. We bring every reported assault to the sexual assault nurse examiner, but that doesn't mean that they all happen. We have a PREA coordinator in place. We have regular counseling sessions with everyone. We have a classification system. We don't have vulnerable populations intermixed with predators. So that's not occurring. No, sir.
Tell us about how the classification system works.
The classification system is a series of questions. It's a series of assessments, and it determines whether or not someone, even though they might have a bad background, they might not have the physical ability to be there. So it's a series of questions, and we go about classifying them so that they can be in a certain part of the jail. You know, when I was elected, there were over 60 juveniles being housed. We don't house any juveniles. We only have juveniles being tried as adults, and they're kept separately. So, did I answer your question?
Yes. Mr. Thomas?
Listen, the experts in this consent ordinance, here's how to answer your question about classification. It says the functioning classification system ensures that inmates are housed in a manner that increases the safety of inmates and staff by, for example, identifying and separating inmates likely to be predators from inmates likely to be victims. In conjunction with the lack of direct supervision, OPP's utterly ineffective classification system is a significant cause of the unprecedented levels of violence at OPP. These are findings of the court. And so until we prioritize, until we train people, until we understand what the core functions of the sheriff's office are, this is the reason why these things continue to occur. The sheriff just doesn't get it.
Hey, Mr. Thomas, how is your classification different?
You alluded to it earlier. You have to look at best practices. You have to bring in, as I mentioned earlier, a jail administrator who is experienced in corrections to help with this classification. There are a number of different stakeholders, psychiatric professionals, medical professionals, who you can bring to the table to say, hey, here's what I want to do. Help us plan this out to make it work for the jail. That's not happening, and that's what the court is pointing out. We can fix this, but we've got to understand that it's a plan that has to be put in place, and then people have to be, your personnel, deputies, have to be trained in understanding what the classification system is all about and how to place prisoners in those different classifications.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
I think the correctional officers, the person that directed need to be fired probably because something's not being done. I think when the lights go off, the deputies go to sleep. And then you don't know what's going on. If I'm elected, I'm serious. Because I made a thing. If I'm elected, if something like this happened underneath my watch, I resign. And I say for the first 2 years, if I have to walk these cells myself and get a bunch of deputies to walk these cells with me, they're going to start assassinating me if I get in office. Because I'm ain't doing nothing nice. Because I'm going to go through these cells, if I got to go to each one cell to see when the lights go off, I'm see what's going on, nothing like this is going to happen. You have to pay attention. You got to stop. If the deputies getting paid off or something, turning heads and looking something got to stop. And it got to be trained. I don't have to bring no administrator in me. All I need to do is bring myself in and and stay overnight and watch what's going on over there.
Thank you. Mr. Foti?
In dealing with special needs inmates, first of all, there's an initial classification as you book. Then there's another classification after you are placed into the institution. One of the ways that where there are misclassifications or where an inmate feels that he has problems is the grievance system, which the federal court also said was flawed and not used. In a grievance system, then they say, I'm having a problem. What's happening right now in OPP is that if you get afraid, you say, I'm going to commit suicide, so we move you to the suicide block so you can get out the cell. That's the only way you can get out. We need to change that.
Mr. Foti, how is your classification system different from Mr. Gusman's current classification system?
Well, Mr. Gusman didn't have a classification system. They weren't classified before. They just bought a classification system within the last year. What you would do is when an inmate comes in, you go age, height, weight, religion, past criminal record, medical history, psychiatric history. You go through all these variables to determine where's the best place to place this person. And they go into intake, and then after intake, they are assigned a permanent cell if they stay past that time.
Thank you. As all of you know, the Sheriff's Association is one of the most powerful advocacy groups in the state. What will you do to ensure that that association advocates for state sentencing reforms to effectively address the mass incarceration crisis in Louisiana? And we'll start with you, Mr. Foti.
I think if you would work with groups like this who are attempting to change some of the sentencing law. The legislature has in effect right now a committee that's looking at sentencing and determining what is the proper sentencing. You would look at some of the lesser crimes that should be paid by fine rather than necessarily in prison.
Okay. Thank you. And so now we're going to move into audience questions. The first question is from Elliot James, and this is a question for Sheriff Gusman. The Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office Administration is generally thought to be unorganized, unprofessional, and retaliatory. And this is particularly with regards to the reaction to the whistleblower. It's also thought to be unproductive. Why should we trust you to turn around this condition of dysfunction?
So-called whistleblower didn't whistleblow or anything. If he thought he was a whistleblower, and I took every precaution, I offered him the same job, the same pay, the same schedule, with a different supervisor and a different workstation. So he wasn't a whistleblower. As a matter of fact, all the information we have is that he was the deputy that let the inmate out to go and attack the other inmate. That was the information that we had. You know, perceptions that people have about one person's perception about disorganized. We have been managing a difficult situation. Revenues have been dramatically decreased, and buildings have been changed, we've torn down, we've rebuilt, we've moved around, and then we're at the point now where we're about to open a brand new building that is really going to have a tremendous difference on the quality of life for those that are there, and the safety and security of everyone else.
Thank you. This question is from Hillary Liddell. This is for Sheriff Foti. In your previous tenure as sheriff, you twice ignored consent decrees and ordering reforms at OPP. First in 1963, then in 2002. How do you guarantee that you will comply with the most recent consent decree to restore the jail to constitutional standards?
First of all, I did not comply. It was never held in court that the sheriff's office was not in compliance. I have the experience, I have the ability and the passion to do the job to make this a safe and secure jail, which it is not now, by anybody's classification, regardless of whether it will be a new jail or not. What you have to do is you keep doing the same things over and over again, you're going to have the same results. I think that I give you my pledge that I will get this institution ACA accredited within 3 years, and get us out from under the federal consent decree. To get out from under federal consent decree, you have to be 2 years in compliance according to the order.
Thank you. This question is for all four candidates. How will you support New Orleans immigrant community, and will you comply with ICE holds? And we'll start with Mr. Thomas.
You know, absolutely. And will I comply with, what we have to do is, again, prioritize and properly classify inmates. Those who belong in jail should stay in jail. Those who do not, we need to make that determination. And if there's no legal justification to hold someone in jail, they want to be released.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Wait, say that question again, because I feel like I heard.
The question was, how will you support New Orleans immigrant community, and will you comply with ICE holds?
That's what I thought, because I didn't hear nothing about immigrants on what Mr. Thomas just said. Everybody should be treated fairly myself. I don't care if you're black, you're white, you're Puerto Rican, you're Japanese, you're anything, Jamaican, anybody. Everybody's equal. When we bleed what color? We bleed blood. We red. Everybody's, in my administration, we've gone down fairly. Everything's done fairly. I don't care what you are.
Thank you. Mr. Foti?
In this instance, I'm going to echo what Mr. Brown said. I think that we should treat everybody fairly. I think that court of law should be just. There should be an equal application to every person. There should be an equal application to every person. The thing should be fair. It should be documented. You should have proper protocols that the deputies know what they're supposed to do, and you should take necessary action if they know what to do.
Thank you. Mr. Gusman? Thank you. Mr. Gusman?
The sheriff's policy on ICE holds is that we do not honor ICE voluntary holds. Only if the person has been charged with a very serious offense, and only if that person has an opportunity to have counsel present when they are being questioned by an organization. I value individual rights, and I think under the law, people ought to be treated the same, whether they're an immigrant, whether they are documented or undocumented. Everybody in this country deserves to be treated fairly.
Thank you. And this next question is for everyone except Sheriff Gusman. And the question is, how would you have handled the Katrina disaster differently? And we'll start with you, Mr. Brown.
Well, what happened with the Katrina thing, what I heard was that it was, I would get these, when I find out the hurricane is coming and something's coming, I'll get these inmates out of there and try to save them and everything. So, really, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I ain't gonna tell you no lie. I don't know something. But when Katrina was coming, I wanted to get ready to get the hell out of here. So I don't know what was going on down with him.
Thank you. Mr. Foti?
I ain't gonna lie on that one.
I was Attorney General at the time, and I was in touch with Mr. Gusman in his office. I had alerted the National Guard to give him assistance. And in fact, when deputies from the prison called me, I got the people there to evacuate them. I think that one of the processes when you have a hurricane coming, you have to make adequate preparations for the safety of the deputies, the staff, and the prisoners all at the same time.
Thank you. Mr. Gusman?
Every single last person in our care, custody, and control, people that floated in, deputies and families were evacuated safely. We took every precaution. The thing about Katrina was that there were events going on in the city the night before it hit. But we were ready, and nobody lost any life. There was no loss of life. Everyone was evacuated safely. Of course, we're smarter now, and we will, as we've done in the past, follow a protocol where everyone is evacuated prior to the force contraflow. So we're smarter now, but that was then, this is now.
Thank you. And Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, I would just be echoing what my opponents and just said, preparation is key. And planning prior to paying attention to the weather reports, working along with the city administration, along with state agencies, and understanding what's at stake, and putting measures in place, making sure that personnel is fully informed and that they're all prepared. When I was with the NOPD, that's what the NOPD did. We 72 hours out, all personnel was put on alert. And so we had time to go home, get our families in place, and then come back to make sure that home was secured so that deputies wouldn't have to worry about their families and they can concentrate on police officers wouldn't have to worry about their families. We have to do the same thing in these law enforcement environments, and that's plan as far ahead as you can to secure the safety of those people that you're responsible for.
Thank you. And for this next question, I'll start with Mr. Foti. And this question is from Breakout. The question is, LGBTQ people, especially transgender people of color, are disproportionately represented in jails and prisons all across the country. New federal standards and nationally recognized best practices for housing transgender people recommend housing trans people according to their gender identity rather than birth or biological sex. It also advises that serious consideration should be given for where the individual feels most safe. Where will you house transgender people, and will you house trans women with other women in the jail? Mr. Foti.
It would depend on, somebody can say they're transgender and still be a male or a female. You would have a real problem about then putting them in an opposite tier. They could have an operation or psychologically feel that way, so you'll have to have a special needs housing to deal with those problems as they come up.
Mr. Gusman.
The vast majority are housed on protective custody, and when you talk about whether or not they're going to be in where they are mentally or where they are physically, pretty much we leave that to the medical staff.
Mr. Thomas.
I have to agree with the sheriff on this is classification. And certainly the only thing I look at is to make sure that those individuals undergo a psychological evaluation so that we can be sure as best as we can. Somebody in the back said no.
Okay,
I will be and so I think that classification is the key to addressing those concerns.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
I think an inmate should, when an inmate comes in there and he classified to the person that signed him up in intake and say, look, I'm like this, they should be put with that person. They should, that person should be put up with a murder and everything because they'll be treated. A person coming out like that, they might say, oh, you like this, I'm going to take advantage of you like that. That's where the problem is right there. We got the sheriff's office, they're not caring about the people's rights. And the people's rights is where this needs to be done. And I will care about the people's rights. I care about everyone that will enter that jail and everyone that will go out that jail. I will be your warden, and I'll make sure that you're treated fairly. And if you like this, you state this. When you come in office, say, when you come in the jail, say, look, I'm like this and everything. I'll try to get my deputies to put you in that department and everything. I'll have a separate housing for that person, and that everybody will be treated fairly.
Thank you. For this question, we'll start with you, Mr. Gusman. Why does New Orleans incarcerate more people, more people than any other city in the world? And what do you think is the major cause of that problem?
Well, when I was elected, there were over 6,000 inmates in the jail. Now there are about 2,050. I think over the years, going back to 2009, there were 63,000 people arrested. We've been arresting too many people for too many non-important reasons. We've been able, with the fast track program, to reduce the number of people that have spent time in jail. I think the summons, giving people summons instead of bringing them to jail for not having their driver's license on them. I think decriminalizing marijuana, all of these things have had a very good impact on the number of people that have been incarcerated. So in 2009, 63,000 people arrested. 2013, about half that, 34,000. So we're on the right track.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
You know, it's a matter of priorities of the police department. The sheriff does not patrol the streets and arrest the New Orleans Police Department does. And the focus of the police department is to make arrests, and police officers are told to make arrests. Then each and every violation, individual that you come in contact with, they tend to put cuffs on and take you to the jail. Thus, you got an overcrowded jail. Recently, the police department has shifted away from arrests for minor offenses and issuing individuals municipal court summonses and not taking people to jail for traffic violations and traffic and municipal attachments. And so we see arrests have come way down. So it's a matter of focus from a law enforcement standpoint in the police department.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
A lot of people is being arrested for the wrong reasons. You got people go to jail, go inside and steal something to store. They arrest them real quick and keep them in there and try to make money off them. I hear this all the time. People saying, oh man, I went to jail and I stayed there for almost 14, 15 hours just to get out. And you just did a minor crime. You got to talk to the police department. I should have been asking that problem to when he was the deputy, the lieutenant for 30-some years. He said, why he was arresting a lot of people back then, Mr. Thomas, for arresting people for minor offenses and stuff like that real fast and overcrowded jails? I think that's a question he should answer right there.
Mr. Foti?
I think the problem is greater than just the parish prison or the criminal justice system. It's got to do with poverty. It's got to do with lack of job opportunities. It's got to do with poor schooling. It's got to do with a non-functioning juvenile justice system that doesn't divert the kids out of the system early on. Once they get to be an adult and they arrested, we should re-look at the sentencing practices, which is happening right now. We should look at what types of things could be done with summonses on a statewide level, not just the police chief saying he wants to do it that way. So I think that we can make some basic changes in the criminal justice system to better have safety for people and cut down the number of arrests by diverting people back to schools and other occupations.
Thank you. Next question is from Bruce Riley. And the question is, thousands of New Orleanians are denied the basic right of citizenship, the right to vote. Their taxes are collected, and they certainly care about public safety, but because of prior convictions, they are not able to vote. Do you support the right of people who've been convicted of crimes to be able to vote? And we'll start with you, Mr. Thomas.
I think that laws are in place for a reason, and those who have been convicted of certain crimes on our system of justice have a debt to pay to society. And I believe that once they have paid that debt to society, then their rights should be restored to them. And it demonstrated willingness to become productive citizens, and then we should give them that opportunity to become a productive citizen.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
That's why I think that's what Martin King had died for, right? For everyone to have the right to vote, whether you're black or you're white. Everyone should be not denied to vote, but they do have laws, and I do agree with Mr. Thompson. They have laws that's being stated with that if something happens to like commit a murder or something like that, your rights be stricken from you. And I really think that you give up your right. You can go up there and hard-working person is out there working hard. If somebody comes puts a gun in your hand and say, give it up and shoot you, blow your brains out, all your rights should be taken away from you because you took that person's life away from them. And I think you treat me like that, we'll treat you like that. Treat people fairly. Don't go in robbing, stealing, killing people, then your rights will be violated.
Thank you. Mr. Foti?
When you are convicted of a felony in the state of Louisiana, you lose certain rights of citizenship. I think that we should look at a phased way that a person that has finished his probation, finished his sentence, and has lived a useful life for a number of years should then be eligible to rebuild.
Thank you. Mr. Gusman?
Everybody makes mistakes. I think it was clear under the law that once you completed your term, you are eligible to be reinstated. I think what we need to do is to make that process easier. Once someone's paid their debt to society, they ought to be allowed to exercise all the rights and privileges that they had before. We just need to make that process a lot less burdensome, a lot less cumbersome.
Time people, we're going to have a few more questions, and you'll have 30 seconds on each of these next few questions. The first one is the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office inmate grievance system is counterintuitive and unnecessarily bureaucratic. How would you restructure the system to make it more user-friendly and effective? And we start with I believe Mr. Brown on this question.
You have to just talk to your deputies and see what's going on. You have to do like you do an annual meeting with the city council and the people of the city. You should do an annual meeting with your deputies. You should have a communication with your deputies. You should let them know, look, what's going on. Sit down and have a meeting with them and say, look, what kind of changes we can do to make this system better? It's not no communication going on. That's what's going on right there. It's going on everywhere. It's going on in city council and everywhere. There's no communication. Have communication with your workers.
Thank you. Mr. Foti?
I think Sheriff Department has to look at a more holistic view and start talking about team building, that make every one of the deputies or staff a shareholder in the operations of the office. I think that you should have meetings with the deputies. I think you should be concerned with the deputies, and I think that they should feel like they have part, they can help write the rules and regulations because they're the ones that have to live by them.
Thank you. Mr. Gusman?
We're talking about the inmate grievance system.
Yes.
So not at all what they're talking about. So we have instituted an electronic grievance system in all of our buildings, and in all of our buildings except for OPPRC prison. You can go in any time of the day and enter into your grievance. We really are getting away from calling the grievances and more requests for service. And that's really the better way to handle it, so that they don't have to get out patients' paper again.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
I think the issue is not the system itself. It's the fact that grievances are not properly heard. So nothing is being done about issues when persons come complaining. So the sheriff has to have a policy that speaks to this and have a team in place to properly address those grievances, and then make sure that the accountability goes up the chain to the sheriff so that he's aware of what those grievances are and the results are.
Thank you. Can each of you describe what an effective reentry or rehab program looks like, and what are the components that ensures that it works effectively? And we'll start with you, Mr. Foti.
Say a rehab issue?
A rehab or reentry program, and tell us what an effective program looks like.
An effective rehab program has to start with
Can you use the microphone, please?
effective rehab program has to start with testing the inmates and adult basic literacy, then it has to have GED, then it has to have job skill training. It has to also deal at the same time with the substance abuse or the mental or physical problems of a particular inmate. It then takes him through the system if he's sentenced and gets him into work release, finds a job counseling, and then passes him off into the community so that you have an ability to rehabilitate the person.
Thank you, Mr. Gusman.
Reentry after being incarcerated is a continuum of care. So what we do is first we do the TCU assessment. Then after we do the assessment, they go through a module of courses. It's a partnership that we have with the Department of Corrections. This module, of course, is anger management, financial management, dispute resolution. We also give them a technology course. And then we involve the families. We have 2 family nights where the families come in, bring food, and share a meal with the inmates. And then we graduate, and then they move on to transitional work.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Rehabilitation has to encompass all the things that the sheriff has said and Mr. Foti has said. But again, I keep going back to the problem. The problem is putting inmates through these various programs that don't translate into housing and jobs upon release. So there's no workforce training, and there are no public-private partnerships with businesses who want to hire former inmates. These programs simply don't work.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah. Criminals that go to jail and don't have that long time ago, they should work with partnership with the businesses, and let the businesses say, look, we'll give you a nice tax if you give these inmates a second chance to try to rebuild their lives. Now, we talk about the inmates and their families and everything, but what I'm hearing on the street right now, and I'm going on the streets right now, these people say they can still get bologna sandwiches and 1 piece of bread and bologna. So the food not being treated right in there. Something is not, that's why I'm in this race right now, because something is not being done right in that jail cell. I'm hearing all this from the public. That's why I'm still in the race and I'm not dropping out, because I need to fix the problem.
Thank you. And that concludes the audience question for audience. I'd like you to give yourselves a round of applause. I know those questions were incredible. And we will conclude by asking each candidate to give us a 1 minute and 30-second closing statement. I think that we started with Mr. Brown at the beginning of the evening, and so we will start at the end of the alphabet with Mr. Thomas to begin the closing statement. 1 minute and 30 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. I commend you for a great job tonight moderating this meeting, and I would like to thank all of you who have come out to take our time from your schedule, because I know this is an important race, and the issues in our jail system are serious, and you are concerned about who's going to lead this jail system beginning on February 1st. I bring 34 years of experience to this campaign. I've worked 4 years as a correction officer, 20 years on the street of the city as the police officer, retired and a ranger lieutenant. I was part of a team that reformed the OPPRC. I helped to transform my current job as chief of police in Southern University. This is a law enforcement environment. I have the experience, the expertise, and the commitment and improvement record of standing strong against any forms of misconduct in my years in the police department. And this jail system, the problems in it can be fixed. Leaders don't place blame, they find solutions. If you give me the opportunity, we'll find solutions. We'll end the mess. We'll end the consent decree requirement, and we'll make this jail work. I'm number 4 on the ballot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Gusman?
Thank you. When I was elected, there were over 12 buildings housing over 6,000 inmates, most of them state inmates. I committed, after Katrina devastated all of those, that we would not go back to where we were before, that we could be better. And that's why we've been building a state-of-the-art facility with direct supervision, with recreation yards on every tier, conference rooms on every tier, the deputy inside of the module, a place where people can get and feel like they have dignity and respect. In the meantime, I kept programs in place. I instituted new programs. I started working on the Day Recording Center, which has been a great program to improve recidivism, where people aren't coming right back to jail. We have a very good reentry program. We more than doubled our goal of reducing recidivism by 20% we've reduced it by more than 40%. The EMP program helps people stay out of jail and still go to school and go to work. So there's a lot of positive things going on. I know when you look at some of the negative things, that's not descriptive of everything that happens. We do our job every day, day in and day out. I would appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Foti?
I'd like to thank the audience and the sponsors for having us here tonight. Thank you for educating us at the same time as we try to give you our opinions. I think it's sort of funny that Mr. Gusman says they had 6,000 prisoners and now he has 2,000. He's unconstitutional on the 2,000. His core job is care, custody, control of the prison. 3 years they've been under investigation. It resulted in the federal court issuing orders which said excessive brutality, excessive sexual brutality, no classification system, mistreatment of juvenile, no language system, not using the grievance system. He has not fulfilled his duties. He wants to talk about the new deal. If you do the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same result. You need a change. I think you need to reinstitute rehab. You need to put the information about your financials and program on the internet. You need to do drug treatment to help these men and women back to a useful life so they can go out and vote and have a job and have a family. And I thank you very much, and I hope you will consider me to be your next show.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
All I can say is that I took up time to come here to y'all, and y'all took up time to come and see what we have to say. We have a serious problem, and Mr. Gusman said this is a serious job, and this is a serious job. I am very serious about this. I put up my money to come into this race, to come to you and tell you what I feel, because every time I say it to the public, everywhere else, nobody wants to listen. So I say I'm going to run so the people, so I can help the people. I'm in this race because of the kids. I'm in the race for the future of New Orleans, and I'm in a race to stop the crime. Everybody out here fighting, every debate I listen to, and the ones I didn't was invited to, they're always going at each other. What he said he didn't do, he said he didn't do. Mr. Thomas said about his experience with the police department. We had crime for years. I want to stop it. I want to show New Orleans that, look, if you make the right choice for February 1st, vote for Quentin Brown, #1, there will be a change, because there will be change. God will help you with this, you will help you with this, and everyone in the community will be involved helping with this. Everyone will have a say-so. I work for you, and I think everyone needs to be, we leaving y'all out. Y'all are voters. So we need to give you the respect, and what you see is what you can see. I don't like talking down to people. I always was taught to look up to people. And you sitting down, you come and see me. I didn't come to see you, so I'm staying up right now. I'm Quentin Brown. I'm a voter. I'm independent. I'm asking for your vote.
Please give all the candidates a round of applause. It's incredibly clear that a number of people have worked extremely hard to bring this event to fruition. I'd like to ask all the folks who've worked on this event and all the members of the Orleans Parish Prison Reform Coalition to please stand so that we can appreciate the hard work that you've engaged in. I'd also like the audience to just take a second and frankly to applaud yourself. I don't know if you guys realize that this church seats 750 people, and we started at 6 o'clock, and even now, as we approach 8 o'clock, 2 hours after we've asked very detailed and difficult questions, it's still a packed house. And I think it says an awful lot about the state of our democracy and the commitment of the people in this city. So please give yourselves a huge, huge round of applause. And let us again thank the Claver Church for hosting us, and for being so gracious as to open its doors so that we can have this very important and frankly difficult conversation. And with that, I'll turn it over to Deacon Allen to conclude us with a prayer.
We are thankful for that sense of humor that entered this forum. Amen. All four candidates asking for our vote, and the decision rests within our hands. We can just bow our heads and pray and ask God for wisdom and understanding as we address this awesome challenge. Lord, we implore you to give us the wisdom that we may build a community founded on the values of our Lord, which gives respect and life to the dignity of all of God's children. This family prayer we say every Sunday, Lord. We ask you to bless the parents of the children that suffer from incarceration. We ask you to bless the mothers, the fathers who struggle to bring a sense to this senseless situation that plagues us. We ask you to bless even the men who sit before us, that we make an informed decision, blessed by you, Lord. Bless and protect our youth that they may be peacemakers, those guards who pledge to protect them, our officers who pledge to protect us. Give consolation, Lord, to those who have lost loved ones to violence. Hear the prayer of the people who cry out to you and their need. We ask you, Lord, this day and every day of our lives, that we become informed voters, that we vote not just on popularity, but from the wisdom and knowledge we gain from you. We ask all of this to the God that created us, his Son who died and rose from the dead, and that Spirit of God that rests within. And those gathered in the sound of our voice say, Amen, 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 amen. Amen. Someone has lost a pair of black frame glasses. Please come to the front, claim them.